In December of last year, in celebration of IDPD, International Day of Persons with Disability, we announced the opening of our Accessibility Discovery Center. It is 1,500 square feet dedicated to the purpose of teaching about accessibility, learning from the community, learning how to make our products, our services, and our platforms more accessible. But the interesting thing is, this is not a place dedicated just inside for us in Google. This is a place that's opened up to the community. So the place itself was developed in conjunction with the disability communities. And then as we were designing it, we also collaborated in conjunction with the RNIB and RNID, and these collaborations made the space better. So what the space is, it's broken up into two halves. The left half is dedicated to research. We have a space where we bring in the community in small groups or larger groups. We have a dedicated center of research where we bring one person in at a time with a computer screen, a web camera, and we understand, are our products making their lives better? How can we make it better? And we do this and we iterate over time to make these things better and better, because if you don't bring the community in, you can't solve their problems. On the right side, we have video games. Really, we have video games all with assistive technology. And the purpose of these is to get people used to using assistive technology to help destigmatize disability when it comes to digital skills and just life. There's nothing like watching a kid who's 12 years old, profoundly physically disabled, playing a race car game with his eyes and doing better than every single Googler or every other person that sits in that chair because they don't know how to play it. They've never experienced it. We have another one. It's FIFA 2022. And it's played with a chin joystick and finger switches. And it is so wonderful watching these adults come in and play and get excited. It's gotten used so much, you've actually broken the assistive technology. The chin joystick is broken because someone got a little sweaty and they jumped up and the cup went flying. It's really wonderful watching people get inspired by the technology and realize that having a disability isn't disabling if you have the right tools. So we've opened this up to the real world outside of Google. Our goal is to have 10 internal product touches, so a new feature or a new product, 100 organizations from outside of Google to come through, and 1,000 people from those 100 organizations. We're blowing past all of our expectations. We've already had over 600 people come through, and we just opened in January. We're probably around 70 organizations. We've had government, we've had politicians, we've had NGOs, charities, and individuals. We have a weekly tour where we bring anyone who wants to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we've opened this up to the end that was not designed with them in mind. You have an opportunity to change things. So what I'd like to do is have two call-outs. One, I think Africa could really use a center like this, and I would be happy to share all of the learnings that we have, the demos, explain how we built what we built. It's not private. I'm happy to share this with anyone. So if someone wants to build a center like this, I'm committing my support to try to make it happen. Two, where it makes sense, where it's a digital technology, I'd like to bring a couple of people from these different organizations, and let's have a conversation. Maybe you can use the ADC as a way to amplify outside of Africa. Take some of these innovations and let's use the ADC to make the rest of the world understand this. So that's the other thing that I'm calling out, is for those digital technologies where there's a natural fit, the kind of work that we're doing at Google. Let me help sing your song, and let's see what we can do to make your technologies better for everyone. Thank you.
Let's give Christopher a hand. Thank you so much, Chris. I have had the good fortune of working with some of the things that your institutional company has designed, and I'm very happy. I've got a cousin who's autistic. I have a niece who is hard of hearing, and we've been able to see what Google has done specifically for them, so I'm grateful for that. And now we have Howard Rosenblum, who's going to come and talk to us.
I'm not a developer, so I'm really inspired by the innovations that I'm seeing here today. And I love the idea that you're working so hard to create access for people with disabilities. I want to make sure that whatever that you invent, as Chris mentioned, singing your song, make sure you know that the song belongs to the people that you're developing for and who it impacts. For example, there are many products here today that are advocating for many different disabilities. Make sure that each disability group has input on your inventions. Make sure that your inventions meet their needs, not your ideas about what their needs are. I'll give you a few examples of what we've been doing in the United States, and maybe that applies to your experience here. Uber and another transit company, Lyft, they contacted the National Association of the Deaf. They said, we've got this problem. We have so many drivers who are deaf that want to join our team, but the product isn't accessibility. They can't get the rides. The numbers that they have are lower than other drivers, and they didn't understand how to sort of problem solve around this. So they asked us to help them. And so we developed a partnership with Uber and Lyft, and the problem was that their driver app would make a beeping sound when the next ride pickup had been alerted. And so a lot of the deaf drivers were missing the possibility to pick up a ride. So working with them, we developed an app that actually flashed a light each time there was a new ride that they could pick up. And their ability to make more money and to compete with hearing drivers was on par. So the deaf driver would not receive phone calls as well. So if the people were waiting for a ride, sometimes with Uber, you call the driver and they say, I'm standing at the corner of such and such a road and I'm in such and such color shirt. They couldn't hear that. They couldn't pick those calls. So the deaf driver would be blocking those calls and they would have to text them. So they would get the same information without the phone call because they were able to force it to text. I'll give you another example. Many of you know Netflix, yeah? Yeah, Netflix. In the beginning, they were doing movies through the mail. You get a DVD, and they were all captioned. Most of them were captioned. But when they went to streaming, almost none of them were captioned. So the National Association of the Deaf contacted Netflix and said, what are you doing? Why aren't you offering captioning anymore? You have lots of deaf customers who are interested in your services. And they said it was impossible to transfer from the analog captions on the DVDs to digital. They said it was impossible. We said, no, it's not. No, it's not. And they said, yes, it is. And so I said, I'm not only a lawyer, but I'm also a computer engineer. So I'm telling you, it is possible. These things I know. So they said, okay, we'll hire somebody to come and they will switch the captioning from analog to digital. And it happened in one day. One day. So now they understand that it was possible, but they wouldn't do it unless they had to. So we had to sue them. And we won. We won the thing. And so now most of the streaming services, including Google, are captioned now because of that lawsuit and the resulting, policy that says that these things need to happen. And so you can see how we can work this different ways. We can collaborate with people with disabilities and meet the needs of the people of the communities that we're serving. The presentation about hearing aids, for example, that's a big need in the hard of hearing community. The hard of hearing community. Those who have a hearing loss and depend on hearing aids to understand communication and to learn through sound. But those who are profoundly deaf, like myself, do not privilege, we don't benefit from hearing aids at all. We're still educated. I sue people for a living, for God's sakes, right? Who's not educated? So I wish you all good luck with your successes. Many wishes for your future. Thank you.
Essentially, I'm going to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Steve Tawian. I'm an investor, an angel investor, and a venture capital investor in healthcare, health tech, medtech, and biotech. So, and obviously in assistive technologies. I'm very happy to be here because I want to tell you a bit more about how we investors look at the innovations that you are developing, and especially in the assistive technology space.
So very simply, I think I'll pick up a little line from the previous conversation, which is about taste. So essentially, we at Jazari Ventures, we look at companies in three ways: team, taste, and terms. So obviously, the team that you are setting up to develop a product or a service is very important. It should not be just you and the market or the product. Obviously, you need to have, different type of profile within your company. One, somebody is more the engineering person, the finance, marketing, and in particular for assistive technologies, somebody that has the relationship with the product or service in terms of the user. And in that particular case for assistive technologies, we really strongly like people who can develop what we called human-centered designs, right? It's very important. So, as I said, team for us is probably, I would say, 60 to 70% of our investment decision, right? And then we talk about terms. So the terms are really how much money you're raising, what instrument, is it debt, equity, is it a mix, or is it a very revenue share that we are doing, or license sometimes to be a bit more innovative. And so the terms of the transaction, obviously the valuation of your company, that we also look at. And then we finish with the parable of the taste. So I have to say I'm from Ghana and was happily adopted by Kenya for some time now. And we love food, right, in West Africa to some extent. And I always say it's not because you have onions, tomato, pepper, not curry. Sometimes we do actually. And all the ingredients that your pepper soup or your good soup or your chicken stew is going to be good, because it's the way you prepare it, the way you cook the ingredients that's going to make a difference. So it's just an example of the way we look at how your product or service fits with you as an innovator or as an innovating team, the market, right? And really making sure that what we call there is product market fit, PMF, product market fit. But for us, we go a little step further. When we're looking at teams, we also look at team to market fit. Because sometimes somebody wants to go and build an innovation somewhere in an ecosystem that really the person doesn't know. And that sometimes creates a lot of issues, right? So in terms of the taste, the stew, the way it looks at things, it's really so the team, product, and market fit. And beyond that, we have a thesis that is very simple, which is we want to provide better healthcare for Africa. And that boils down to, do we as an entity have connections, understanding on where the company is and what the company wants to build? Is it aligned to our values, right? And that also goes into the way we look at impact, okay? So we're a venture capital investor looking for return, for sure. But I think impact is also very critical on the continent. We can't do anything really commercial without impact, I think. And so on the impact side, also what you're doing is we need to understand whether or not you have what we call the three-dimensional impact analysis, essentially. It's the breadth of impact. So how many people can you reach out to in terms of the numbers, right? The depth of impact. So how deep can you provide an assistive technology solution to somebody that really improves dramatically his life, his or her life, right? So the depth of impact. And once you kind of understand which dimension you're positioned on, how is it going to grow over time? Because we want you to grow a business that is going to impact more and more people over time. So again, to make it very quickly, team, taste, and term. And I hope you just remember that. Thank you.
I hope it was the beginning of an interesting conversation. And I hope we have some ideas, some suggestions that you can share with us. As we said, this is brand new, so we're very open to input. And our hope is really to design an assistive technology village that's beneficial to African innovators, experts, donors or VCs that are willing to fund, and also just to benefit the African community or the global community. To our innovators, thank you for the fabulous job. You own the ideas, you own the passion, you own the product. And as I said earlier, I hope you can open up your hearts to get input to really make your product market ready and to be able to benefit many more Africans. And I want to commend you because I know you've developed these products in very, very difficult circumstances. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say a very special thank you to all our speakers for being here, for believing in us, and especially a new concept. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I want to say a special thank you to the MasterCard Foundation. Actually, they're the ones who made it possible for these innovators to be here today, for us to set up this and plan this. So the MasterCard Foundation, thank you so much. And to everyone else, if I have forgotten your name, Bernard Chira, very instrumental. I want to say thank you. Last but not least, to my amazing, amazing team. Oh my God. Yeah, planning these things is not easy. So I want to acknowledge them for the sleepless nights, for the hard work, and for believing in our vision. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference.